right, welcome one and all to another edition of Gavin Richard Presents here on my channel GBoo2786. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe this evening. This will not be a long program, I anticipate, but it will be something for your health, something good that we can talk about. So why don't we all just pile in? And I'm doing this at a late night, but I wanted to do this episode with my schedule freed up today because I think it's something important that we could all talk about. Those of you who know probably have seen this story that we're going to get in. We got some people in the chat. We got people on YouTube, people here on Twitter and Periscope. Come on in, come on all. We're going to get this started. Right. All right, y'all, come on in. Get started shortly. All right. So I'm trying to share this with y'all. I'm having a little issue. I don't know what's going on with the live stream. Give me 1 second, please. A little technical difficulty. Good evening, everyone. Okay, we're gonna try and get this started. Got a couple people that are watching. Something interesting I wanted to tell you guys is this happened to me. I actually got a YouTube strike on my channel, my first YouTube strike. So I think I'm doing something right. I got a strike on my channel. There we go. With regards to me simulcasting the Criterion broadcast that was featured by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And you know what? If I had to do it over again, I would, because YouTube is very picky about what they want to support. YouTube argues, creative content, letting creators create what they want, but yet they censor things that they don't want because they don't like hearing it. So freedom of speech and freedom of expression is not about what you like. Freedom of speech and freedom of expression is about supporting the very right of the people to say and feel what they want and what's on their mind, whether you like it or not. If I don't like something that's said on one person's channel, then the best thing I could do is not listen to that channel, unsubscribe from it. It's like what Dave Chappelle said, is that you can have people that can get on television. When he was on Comedy Central, he could use the N-word. He could say nigger, but he could never say faggot. And YouTube has that thing going on here. Twitter has the same thing that goes on, how they censor things. And frankly, I'm getting sick of it. At this point, I'm actually thinking of switching over, moving all of my content to Patreon, maybe going to Parler. I think Parler's good. And I could care less whether or not, Dr. Boyce Watkins talks about he doesn't care whether or not it was created by Republicans and conservatives. Some things that these Republicans have done have not been that bad. We got to be real about it. I've seen Dr. Randy Short talking about this Warnock pastor who's the pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, and he has been on him heavy. We got to get Dr. Short back on, but he's running against Kelly LaFleur. I see you, Jaleel. I see you, Killer Sai. What's up to you all? Uh, things. My weekend was pretty good, not bad. Thank you for asking, Jaleel. What's up, man? I had Jaleel on the program this past Thursday, where we did our top 10 Christmas albums, R&B Christmas albums of all time. We'll probably do another top 10. We might do a top 10 Christmas movie list of all time. I think that'll be next, Jaleel. But I came here, but yeah, I wanted to address that because that frustrates me how we can cherry pick and decide what things we will support and what content should be supported, and we'll shadow ban all of those that we don't agree with. But then you'll put some stuff on it that's totally contrary to morals. You'll allow some things, but you're not going to allow everything. Now, I don't support that at all. And nothing in Minister Farrakhan's speech did he say anything dealing with hatred. But nevertheless, and I appealed it, and of course, that appeals only took maybe 2 hours before I got up. They upheld it. But hey, I did something right, and they removed the video. Next time, I'm gonna just move over to some more another place, new content, probably a Black Enough or a Parlor, and we're gonna set that up. I might even create my own streaming service. That might be the best thing to do now. We're talking about Black entrepreneurship and empowerment. Hey, Kwanzaa's here. Those are the principles. Economic development, near purpose. That's what we're gonna do. I see you. You're from Nashville. All right, Killer Size from Nashville. Country City. Nashville is right now the music capital of the United States. A lot of people don't know that, but with all the country music, everything is centered, in Tennessee right now, in Nashville. That's where all the country stars are. Country is an extremely uh, lucrative market, to us, especially young people in an urban area, Black, as they say. It may not be as well developed. It may not be something we're attracted to, but I mean, it actually, hey, we created that just like we created rock and roll and everything else. I don't want to talk about that. Obviously, I wanted to talk about the death of uh, this sister, Natalie Desselle Reid. Now, she passed away afternoon, earlier this morning, after being in hospice care for colon cancer. Now, Natalie uh, Desselle Reid, Natalie Desselle Reid, I actually knew of her. My earliest recollection of her was from a movie called How to Be a Player, Def Jam's How to Be a Player, and that's how I found out about the news that she passed. Was comedian Pierre, who's a Facebook friend of mine. He put it on Facebook, and I saw Holly Robinson-Peete was the first person to offer her condolences. I saw that Halle Berry even put out something saying she was lost for words uh, about it. But I, that is Natalie Desselle Reid, 53 years old, and Holly Robinson-Peete. What's interesting, going back to her mother Dolores Robinson was her manager for some time when she started out. But I remember her from Hot Def Jam's How to Be a Player. I enjoyed that movie uh, in deeply, especially when they had J. Anthony Brown at the barbecue, ripping the Fat Boys, calling them before and before, before and before. And I remember a lot of other fellow comedians that were on there, including, yeah, I remember change that format up. There you go, that's better. Fellow comedians that were on there, including uh, Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac, of course, he steals every scene that he's in. Of course, they had Anthony Johnson. They had Jermaine Huggy Dupree. He was small. He was Sims and Lean on Me. Yeah, he was in that. Yeah, it had a bunch of people. The Mac, the original Mac, Max Julian, he was in the film as well. So, and he had some fine women. Of course, Bill Bellamy was the lead character, and he played her brother. And she was doing a study on him, trying to catch him in the act for being a player. Uh, and also the girl from Saved by the Bell who played Lisa, Lisa Mark Voorhees, she was in it, and she played Bill Bellamy's girlfriend, the actual girlfriend that he had. So that's where I remember her from. Now, you guys may take my black card away from me for this, but I have never, I'll say this, I have never sat and watched BAPS. I just never had any interest in it. I've seen bits and pieces of it. If I've seen it, it was a long time ago, but I have no recollection. No, you know what? I haven't seen the movie in its entirety. I've seen bits and pieces of it when it's come on BET. And I know she was familiar with that as well because she starred in that movie with Halle Berry and Martin Landau and Pierre again as well. As a matter of fact, they were going to be doing a BAPS play that was supposed to be around the country, and her character was Mickey. She was going to reprise her role as was Pierre. They were the only original uh, actors from the original movie that were going to reprise those roles. And unfortunately, with the COVID-19 pandemic, that changed everything. And I remember her on Eve as well. Eve, which I didn't think was a great show, but I watched it nonetheless. That's when Eve was breaking away from the Rough Riders, and she started to appear in movies. Remember, she was in Barbershop. Uh, she was in all three barbershops. Remember that she was also, so in that TV show, she was playing a hairdresser, and uh, Natalie was her character. I can't think of her name. She was her best friend, something along those lines. So I don't forget stuff like that, man. That's Jesus, part of my youth. And I can't believe that's been 15 years ago when that show was on the air. Uh, but I remember, 15, 20, 16 years ago when that show was on, when UPN actually had, uh, black, what is it, black, Negro night. Every network they had, UPN, there was an old joke they called it, you pick a nigger. That was their, Paul Mooney used to say that. And the reason Paul would say that was because UPN used to put on some, just crazy shows where that, were based on hella stereotypes, like Homeboys in Outer Space. And of course, they had Moesha. They also had All of Us, Half and Half, One on One. Yeah, all of those interesting half and half, all of us, one on one, sound like a math class. Uh, all for one and one for all, the Three Musketeers. They had another show on there. I remember in the '90s, they had called. It got canceled, but it was very controversial. It was called The Diary of Dobie. Was it The Diary of Dobie Gillis? Not Diary of Dobie Gillis, but Shy McBride is the actor that was in it. He was in uh, a bunch of. He's been in a few movies, including Roll Bounce and Gone in 60 Seconds, I Robot. He played a slave. All right. He's been in a couple of movies. The Secret Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer. That was it. Thank you, Jaleel. Yeah, The Secret Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer, because came on in 1998, and they canceled it because they thought it was stereotypical. That was very interesting how UPN got its start. Now UPN merged with WB, and of course, it's never been the same. They got rid of all of those black shows. They have no black talent on any of those networks, not even the major networks. So I find that I find it interesting how networks like Fox, networks like UPN and WB in the 90s made a lot of money off of black people watching their shows. And yet those shows were taken and canceled very abruptly, some not with a proper send off. Even with the Living Single show, which was before Friends, they were not given a proper uh, finale, a proper send off. Shows like New York Undercover, that wasn't sent off great, and that was actually, regardless of what you say about Malik Yoba right now, back then in the 90s, that was a dude. He was a strong black man in a leading role. He was a black father. He cared about his son. He stood up against racism. He was, and it was merged with hip hop too. That's what made it even better. R&B music when they would go to the nightclub. So anyway, I think of stuff like that. But I want to get back on this sister, you know, Natalie Desselle Reid. Now she actually has roots in Louisiana. She was born here in Alexandria, Louisiana, which is about 3 hours from New Orleans. That's like the middle of Louisiana practically. Her brother is actually, let me show you a picture of her brother. All right. Let me show y'all a picture of her brother, Sherman Desselle. He is actually a news anchor here in New Orleans with WDSU. Uh, and this is his Facebook page. I'm trying to pull it up right now. So I need something else that I could do with streaming. I like to just get to my stuff quickly without sharing it. But that's her brother, Sherman Desselle. Sherman is here in New Orleans. He actually posted this earlier. Uh, some family photos he has on his Facebook. This message that he has: "My heart is heavy to you. She was that woman in film and shows that left a lasting impression to me. Natalie was a representation of who we are as a family. We never thought we would lose her so soon. I'll miss her frequent calls that got me through college. She was there to speak big sister confidence in me when I needed it the most. Nat was my hype man after every audition on stage and in journalism. Although she'll never get the chance to use her new film production degree from LAFS, I believe her work and spirit will be felt by many for quite some time. She was Acadian Village, Peabody, GSU, Marksville, and Alexandria, all wrapped into one, sprinkled with sugar and laughter. She was a sister and a daughter, a beloved wife and a cherished mother. She was hope for girls who looked like her and so much like our mama. May they both rest in heaven together now. Thanks to everyone for reaching out. We appreciate your prayers and support. Psalms 91. Uh, feel sorry for the family. My prayers go out to them. My thoughts and prayers to that family right now. It's always hard when you lose a loved one. I just buried my, we just buried my cousin, actually, who had been battling cancer. Although I think this was a different form of cancer Natalie was suffering from. She was suffering from colon cancer, which is the same thing that our brother Chadwick Bousman died from earlier this past August. Now, let me just say this. It's very important. I'm not saying that she didn't get uh, her colonoscopy early or anything like that. I don't know. They normally recommend you get it uh, when you're in your 40s. When you turn 40, men are supposed to get it and come back, I think, every 5 or 10 years, if I'm not mistaken, to get the next one. I'm in my 30s and I have had a colonoscopy before. It's not hold on, let me put it on me right now. It is not the most pleasant thing at all. It's not pleasant because you got to, take You can't eat certain foods the day before. You have to eat straight liquids. You have to take uh, some type of syrup. I'm trying to think the name of it that will clear out your entire intestinal system, which means you're going to be running to the bathroom all day. All day, that's all you're going to be doing. Only thing you can drink or eat is broth and clear jello. That's the only thing you could have. Other than that, you can't have any solid foods, not until after the procedure. And I wanted to get one. I had to get it because polyps run in my family. You know, colon cancer. My grandfather, he had it, but he didn't die. My grandfather didn't die from it, but it ran in his, on my father's side of the family, and he had my brother. Of course, he had uh, polyps. At one point, they had to cut, and I decided that perhaps it was time that I go and get it checked myself to be sure. And I had some issues with it uh, that I'll say. I'm just not too comfortable. But no, I'll say it. I've seen things uh, that struck me, that prompted me to go when I noticed I had blood in my stool at one point. Now, I had it checked, and I had a polyp, a very, very small polyp, but the doctors removed it, and I was clean other than that. So I was grateful that it wasn't anything serious. I was grateful that I'm healthy, that that was taken care of, and it wasn't big of a deal. So I'm happy about that. And I encourage people, if you have family history, or a family history, I should say, of colon cancer, of intestinal cancer of some kind, to get checked out as soon as you can. Don't ignore it. Talk with your doctors. Uh, Talk with your family about it, because we're losing so many of our people. 2020, people were saying how bad 2020 is, and this year is for the pits. 2021 come already. You know, I think of those. Just think of this though. Even with the pandemic, 2020 is not the best year. Certainly not the year that I look forward to. That I can look back on and say, was it better than 2018 or 2017? Uh, no, it wasn't. But I'm alive. I still have my family. We were inconvenienced greatly about some things, but I could still smile, look in the mirror and smile and say, my family is still here. I still have a job. I still have ability to support myself. And if you have that, then you're winning. If you have that, you're winning. I I certainly think about Chadwick Boseman when I think of hearing about this sister and her passing, Natalie's Reid's passing, and I look at those ages. Chadwick Boseman was 42 years old, and Natalie Desselle Reid was 53. That is young. That is way too young. And I, this isn't promised to us. Tomorrow is never promised to you. The next minute is never promised to you. They got people that drop dead instantly from heart attacks or strokes, from anything. They call it natural causes. Anything can happen. So that's why you have to live every minute of your life in the moment, and don't take it for granted because to you. And I think of that, but you know, and I know I think of that, and I know Miss Reid's family, obviously. I'm sure that they are hurting right now. They probably didn't. I don't know if they didn't expect it. They kept this private, which is their right. Nobody likes to have their business, especially something that personal, out in public. Let's not forget too the sister that was in the Parkers as well. She was a comedian. She played the girl that was she played on Friday. She was the big girl, the girl that was whiter than all outside on Friday, trying to mess with Smokey. But she was in. Is her name Yvonne? I believe. Yeah, she also died of cancer. I believe she had a different kind. Of course, I think she had uterine cancer, if I'm not mistaken. Yvette Wilson, that was her name. Yeah, in 2014, she was a comedian and actress. She played Andell Wilkinson, on Moesha and on the Parkers. And of course, she had cervical cancer. Now, she was on Def Comedy Jam frequently. Uh, I remember her when she actually was in House Party 3 and Def Comedy Jam. I remember stuff like that. So she died at 48 years old of uterine cancer, of cervical cancer. She was a contestant in the 90s on the game show Supermarket Sweep. She first entered comedy when she lost a bet and had to perform as a stand up comic in a friend's club. She decided to make a living off comedy and never returned back. She starred in Thea. Okay, that's where I remember her too. She was in Thea. She was also in Poetic Justice, Don't Be a Menace in South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood. That's just yeah, that was Yvette Wilson right there. So she died at 48. And Natalie Desselle Reid at 53 years old. That is still young. Yeah, she was in the first Friday. That's what I mentioned. Grub. But getting back to Natalie Reid, I mean, she was in. I can't really think of too many things that she was in. That was something that Halle Berry actually posted. If you could see that, she says, "I'm in total shock, completely heartbroken, gonna need a minute." Uh, I'm assuming that they still stayed in touch. Now, Natalie, of course, she went to Grambling. Um, I'm a Southern Jaguar, but I'm not gonna say anything bad against Grambling right now because we lost somebody in the Louisiana family, somebody in the HBCU family, and and I don't know her personally, but I just somebody, obviously, from what everyone is saying, it seems like she was a pretty decent human being and woman, a caring mother. And that's who I feel even worse for is for her children now that they don't have their mom in their life. I'm fortunate that both of my parents have still been together for the last 40 something years. And I can still talk to them. I'm still around to speak with them about stuff. So I'm fortunate of that. But let's see, we got a couple of people. I'm gonna post your comments. Sad our people eat the wrong things. We need to detox every organ in our body every week. You gotta stay healthy. That's true. You gotta exercise. You gotta walk. But another thing too is sometimes it's not even just eating that. It's also about your family history. That plays a factor in it. I mean, I know people. There are people, who have family members, uh, their sons, where they have heart conditions that unfortunately, all the men don't make it till they're in their, they don't live past their 50s. Sadly, that has happened. That does happen. Um, it's good to exercise. It's good to um, eat healthy. I've lost about 20 pounds. I'm still trying to lose. And I'm not going to lie, I eat the wrong things. I mean, some stuff, it just tastes too damn good. But I I'm trying now to avoid some of the fried foods. Try to stay from away from them as much as I can. Uh, I like to eat uh, kale. I like to eat I eat a lot of fiber too. Like something good for your cholesterol is to eat oatmeal. Oatmeal, and I never really ate it, but I started getting into it because I noticed my cholesterol at one point was going up real high, and this was even with me exercising. So I realized I need to cut back from some of this. So I started cutting back. I started to eat more oatmeal. I added fruit in it. Raspberries work good. Strawberries are good to eat as well. You want something with fiber in it. And the other thing too is working out, walking every day. I do that. I noticed that there was a change in my I'm still losing weight. And I noticed there was a change also in my mood, change in my appearance and so forth. My clothes weren't too baggy, weren't too tight anymore. So I still do that. I still try and walk and exercise daily. That's another thing you need to do. Even if you don't have a gym membership, walk. Walking works. Eating some apples, uh, eating plenty of fruit, eating vegetables, eat your greens, your green veggies like your broccoli, like your Brussels sprouts, uh, bell peppers. Another good veggie to eat. Uh, Cauliflower, I eat those. I told you about kale. Yeah, that works. But do kale, do drink plenty of water. That's another thing too. Water is very key because the body is made up 3/4 of water. 75% of the body and more is made up of water. So you certainly want to stay hydrated because that absorbs a lot of stuff too. Um, and also having the right state of mind. Stress is another problem in our community. Stress uh, causes issues because being black in America, it's like being the boogeyman every day of your life. Somebody doesn't like you, or you have this bullseye on you when you walk out the door, and you got to be on your guard 24/7. Now, I don't go through life living through life scared of everything or worried about what's going to happen to me, but there are a lot of issues that we deal with, especially whether right now with this pandemic, people may be out of work, people wondering where they're going to make their next dollar, bills are due. That's another thing with this pandemic. The bills haven't stopped. The bills have not stopped. Even though the country shut down, they still are forcing you to pay rent. You still have people that are going to be evicted from their homes, regardless of what the governor or what the mayors and the moratoriums that they've put. And I understand it from both sides because on one side, you have a lease agreement that you signed that you're supposed to pay rent for. You promise to pay this. The man can't stop making a living because the landlords, they got to upkeep everything, and so they need money from their tenants to keep their lights on as well, and to keep the buildings running fresh and secure. But on the flip side, of course, we got some landlords who are slumlords. But also another thing as well, we have issues where we're not working. So how can you possibly pay rent in the middle of an emergency? So it's a double-edged sword. We're robbing Peter to pay Paul. I certainly I get up and I walk around every day. Um, and I try to lose, as much weight as possible. I try to stay active. That's the key. Uh, you know, while you can move, anything you can do, even if you can walk around a house, just walk around the house too, because that helps. Any type of movement is good movement. But uh, what do y'all? But this actress, Natalie Desselle Reid, what do you guys think? Mostly everybody uh, have said some positive things about her. Jaleel said Girlfriends had a crappy ending. I never really watched Girlfriends even on UPN. I didn't think Girlfriends was all that. Uh, I thought was what UPN shows did I watch? I watched I watched Malcolm and Eddie. I loved Eddie Griffin. Eddie Griffin is one of the greatest stand-up comedians of all time, and it's a shame he doesn't get his due. I thought he was hell funny. I liked some other shows. When it was the WB, I used to watch The Parenthood and the Wayans Brothers. Fox was really where we watched. Fox was really Black Night on Thursdays. That rivaled NBC's Must See TV because you remember when NBC, after the Cosby Show went off the air, and the Cosby Show was what created Must See TV. A lot of people forget that, but when NBC was starting out, well, not even starting out, but when NBC before the Cosby Show, they were struggling in the ratings. They did not have a top 10 show, losing to CBS and Magnum PI and Dallas, and ABC had The Love Boat and some other shows I can't think of. I believe Dynasty, I believe was on ABC. Shows like that. NBC, the only thing they may have had that may have been a top hit was the 18. And Cosby Show actually comes on in 1984, 85, is a rating success, number one for 5 straight years, tying All in the Family's record. American Idol tied both of their records, number one for 5 straight years. And then uh, after the Cosby Show went off the air in 1992, they brought in Seinfeld, and they canceled A Different World, and they bring in Seinfeld. Seinfeld was on, but I think as early as 1989, but they put it in that slot, and it became their top show. And of course, Frasier and Cheers, and that's really what elevated that elevated NBC's ratings. But then, of course, you had on Fox, of course, was Martin and Living Single, In Living Color, New York Undercover. I remember they had this show called Brothers at one point that Kadeem Hardison was on in the mid to late 90s, and Tommy Davidson was on there as well. They canceled it. But they made their living off of black shows. They laid their living off of those shows. And I'm sure Yvette Wilson, I know for a fact Yvette Wilson, I'm sure guest starred on one of those episodes at least once. I remember when Thea was on too. Thea was on ABC, but that didn't last long. But I remember when they started to have all of those black shows come in, like This Is Where I Live, and that show that the Smollett family was in. I remember that show was on ABC, but that didn't last long either. Uh, but those shows, they made their money off of black, those networks made their money off of black people. And, um, you know, these television shows like Eve that our sister Natalie Desselle Reid was on, they helped keep those networks afloat. Natalie was in another movie. She was in Madea's Big Happy Family. I'm not a Tyler Perry fan. I respect Tyler Perry as far as his business acumen. Uh, but I'm not a fan of his work. His work is not great. His work uh, is you already know what his work is. But Tyler Perry I can say this much: he has given black actors and actresses jobs that they wouldn't get on a lot of these other networks and other studios. He has put people in positions that they would not be in if they were to go to another network. It would be background characters. You know, the sister to Kai Sumter. Well, I think she's a great actress. She's a pretty good actress. I'm not gonna say outstanding or great. That horrible soap opera, that uh, have and have nots. And she started doing a few other movies. Of course, she's done Right Along with Kevin Hart and Ice Cube, and she was in James Brown's biography, Get On Up. So they certainly have. He certainly has done some good things. And I remember when his plays were coming out, when Tyler Perry's plays were coming out, he actually was. That's how he made his money. He was homeless at one point, and he started doing all of those plays. And of course, Natalie's character. Now, the thing about, and I'm not trying to shame Natalie, but all the characters she's played, you remember, basically were, the angry black woman, angry, ignorant, uh, like in How to Be a Player, the role that she played, she basically could not stand her brother. She did not like him, and she was the villain in the role in the movie, and she used him, or tried to get at him, I guess, for some type of project, and that she was doing because she brought her friend along, her fine ass friend. We got that picture of her. Hold on. All right, let me see. I don't want to be hit with a copyright if I played the trailer. I don't know how they would, but I want to show you all of how fine the woman was back in the day. This Okay. Okay, so she played Onisha on Family Matters. Okay, that's where I knew her from. She looked familiar. And oh yeah, this girl is fine. I'm trying to see if I could put her picture up. Well, her name is Mari Moreau. Let's see if I can get the photograph up. Okay. Now, this is a bad picture. This is a bad picture of her because I'm just trying to find one just with her. But I might be able to play the clip, and then probably what I'd have to do is just talk over it. But that was the friend. I mean, oh my gosh, she's fine. And of course, that's Natalie. Natalie was basically her character. She couldn't stand her brother. Bill Bellamy played her brother. Now that's okay. So that's a better picture. That's a better picture of Mari Moreau. Yeah, she was fine. And I laughed so hard at the movie because she set him up trying to get him busted with all of his different girlfriends. Because Bill Bellamy's character, he had about 15. He had to have had about what 10 different women at least, or something like that in the show. Yeah, that show is awful. The show, I ain't gonna lie to you, they have a lot of that. It's awful. They have a lot of the LGBT agenda in it. The I just can't stand the acting because it's just over the top. Yeah, soap operas tend to be over the top, but at least with Dallas, when I look at shows like Dallas, uh, and that was the soap opera back in the '80s. At least Dallas had an interesting storyline, especially in their early years. When the Jock Ewing character, Jock Ewing being the patriarch of the family, and he had the three sons, and the eldest son was who else? J.R. Ewing, and J.R. was just outright evil, but he was the breakout star in the movie, in the TV series. And that's the reason why Dallas actually stayed on for so many years because everybody loved to hate J.R. Runs would come on. I watched that. I used to watch Bewitched, Leave It to Beaver. Uh, my shows, gosh, this is taking me back. My shows I love to watch were Night Court. If you're an 80s baby, you know what Night Court was. You know about, obviously, The Facts of Life, Different Strokes. Um, Fresh Prince came in the 90s. Family Matters was in the 90s. Uh, it's a whole bunch of shows. Um, I remember when Jaleel White, after he left Fresh Prince, I'm sorry, after he left Family Matters, he had a show called Grown Ups that only lasted like 1 or 2 years. It didn't last that long. Uh, you know, my grandmother, Jaleel, it's funny you mentioned that because my grandmother, I used to tease her because all she would watch was All My Children and Walker, Texas Ranger. That damn Walker, Texas Ranger with that Chuck Norris. I And you know what? When it comes on, I watch it too a little bit because it's actually not that bad of a show. There were some positive things in it. I liked Chuck Norris as a kid when he had his movies like Delta Force and Delta Force 2, Missing in Action. Uh, he was the biggest star for Canon Films at one point. Charles Bronson was the other. And then, of course, they had Jean Claude Van Damme. And Van Damme had a string of movies like Bloodsport and Kickboxer. And was it the other one he did? Was it Universal Soldier, if I'm not mistaken, for those films? He had a bunch. Lionheart, I think, was one too. He had one he did when he was in prison in the 90s. I can't even remember that. But my brother and I, when we were little, uh, my brother's about 4 or 5 years older than me, we would watch those movies. And I have so many fond memories of that. So that was just talking about it with y'all, man. It just makes me feel good inside, to talk about movies like that because they don't make stuff like that anymore. So yeah, got 10 people in the chat. We got 10 people watching on YouTube. Uh, we got one person watching on Periscope, but that's me. And Natalie Desselle Reid's is actually the number one trending here on Twitter. No, they don't. HBO. I mean, I remember when TV shows actually meant something. TV shows had meaning. TV shows had a message behind their stories. Something that we don't, have anymore. Killer Side says those Charles Bronson and Jean Claude Van Damme movies were fire in the '80s and '90s. They should make another Universal Soldier movie. G Boots, that would be fire. I think they could remake. Well, they've remade a John Claude Van Damme movie that's on Netflix, the Sudden Death movie, which Didn't do well at the box office when it initially came out, but I think it would be great. Uh, yeah, there could be stuff remade. Hard Target, they gave that a sequel. I really hated. He says, "What about remember Tales from the Crypt?" How can I not forget Tales from the Crypt? Um, well, I wasn't thinking of horror when you came, Ashen, but I remember, yeah, Tales from the Crypt. I remember Monsters. Tales from the Crypt used to come on replays. They did the reruns on Saturday nights on local channel here, WB Net affiliate, and we used to watch our Fox affiliate. I'm not mistaken. And we 10 o'clock at night, 10:30 after the news would come on, we would be by our grandmother if my parents were out, and we would just watch that. Tales from the Crypt was and when the Crypt Keeper would come out when they would play the music. Dun, 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 boom, boom, boom. Yeah, yeah. Tales from the Crypt. Yeah. No, the one I'm talking about, sudden death. He was a fire marshal, and there were terrorists that had taken over this ice hockey game, the Stanley Cup game finals, and his daughter was one of the hostages. His daughter and son were in the arena, and his daughter was taken hostage by the villain, the main villain played by Powers Booth, the late Powers Booth. I remember that, and I remembered what you're talking about is Double Impact, which was a great movie. I remember my parents taking me to see that. John Claude Van Damme actually wrote that. That was funny. That brings back some great memories. But yeah, Tales from the Crypt. Uh, we used to watch that. There was also Freddy's Nightmares. Anybody remember that? Freddy's Nightmares, the movie that was based off Nightmare on Elm Street. Robert Englund actually played Freddy Krueger in the TV series. There was also the show Monsters, which is on Roku. I was actually watching that earlier. It's a couple other great shows that were on there. Uh, so, yeah, Double Impact, Predator films. Yeah, yeah. So, what do y'all think this sister's legacy will be? Um, sadly, those are the only things I remember her from. But you know what? That makes her a star to us. She made it. She came out of Louisiana. She accomplished what Of course, you hate when someone dies so young. But Natalie, sister, you accomplished a lot, and you went places that I think a lot of people didn't think you would go, or most of our people think we couldn't go because our people, especially when you come from small towns, when you come from areas that may lack resources or so forth, when you come from families who think that education is just the key, and I'm not saying that her family didn't think that, but they have no knowledge, let's put it this way, of how it works in the entertainment industry. And so they don't think that there's any assurance that you're going to be successful. So they'll have their reservations about it. But you follow your dreams, you can accomplish things. And she certainly did accomplish things based off of what I'm hearing and reading from everyone that knew her. Uh, Friday the 13th had a TV show 13, although it had nothing to do with Jason. But I remembered Friday the 13th. I do remember Tales from the Dark Side, but that came on sci-fi reruns. I didn't watch it when it was actually on. I remember, I remember watching the reruns for the Incredible Hulk on the sci-fi now. Uh, couple of Yeah, I love the Predator movies. You know they're rebooting the Predator movies. Killer Side. Predator's being rebooted. This character back. Disney owns Predator. Think of this now. A major movie franchises like 20th Century and studios, like 20th Century Fox, for instance, they're no longer 20th Century Fox. It's 20th Century Studios. That's owned by Disney. Disney also owns Marvel. They also own Indiana Jones. They own National Geographic, The Simpsons. Just think of that. One company owns multiple franchises and even other companies. And also think of this: the other major studios like Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is owned by AT&T, Time Warner. So that's interesting. So it's very interesting that all of those networks, all of those studios that were part of the golden age of Hollywood, practically are corporate are part of corporate conglomerates. You know, there's a monopoly on those things. Yeah, I see Predator movies, action packed, and get high bars. Child's play. Actually, you just not gonna stop shouting off different stuff, man. But man, they don't make movies like that. And I think that was Def Jam. Def Jam's How to Be a Player. Wasn't that the only movie Def officially in the '90s? I could be mistaken, but okay, wait. Here's a better picture from the side of that actress, Mari Moreau. Yeah, I remember Child's Play 2, Ashton. Child's Play was yeah, that shit was scary. Yeah, that's her there. Oh my god, she's fine. I wonder what she looked like now. Let's see if we could. So she's divorced with two kids. Huh, not bad looking. Whoa, is that her there? Good lord. Two glazed donuts. Yeah, she's a fine woman. Child's Play scared the hell out of people, the original one, but then when it got to Child's Play 2, it started to get silly. Although I thought that was pretty funny when Chucky was getting all chopped up at the toy factory. My parents actually took me to see that when I was 4 years old in the theater. Um, why would they take their 4-year-old son to see a movie like that about a crazy killer doll at 4 years old? I don't know. Bad parenting. No, no, they were good parents. I mean, we were able to see a lot of stuff even as kids back then, man. Because when I mean, I could watch, I could watch RoboCop with all the curse, even with the violence, the shooting. But when a sex scene came on, my mother had to put her hand over my eyes. If they started cursing too much, I had to walk out. Uh, I had to walk out of the room. When all, so I remember stuff like that. Excuse me. Uh, I remember when that. movie Double Impact with Jean-Claude Van Damme came on, I watched everything else, but I couldn't watch the scene where Jean-Claude's character, he was the good twin brother, the evil twin brother, was drunk and thought that his twin brother was having an affair with his girlfriend. And I remember when that scene came on when she was stripping down, my mother put her hand let me know when it finished. And I would be looking through the crack too for all of that. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. It's been an hour, man. But if you'd like to donate, please donate to the Cash App, Gavin Richard Esquire, Google Pay, Gavin.grich1@gmail.com. Jaleel says Child's Play 2 was my favorite. Yeah, I think it was one of the best ones of the Chuckies. Although the recent entries that they've had with Brad Dourif's daughter have not been bad. But you guys, what do y'all think? Rest in peace to our sister Natalie Desselle Reid. Uh, yeah, I remember all of them movies. 53 years old, that's too young. But stay healthy if you can, man. Get checked up. Talk to your family about your parents about their family history. Check with their family history. If they have a history of colon cancer, you might want to talk to a doctor about all of it. May she rest in peace. Uh, May she rest in heaven with her family, with her deceased loved ones, and all the angels and saints. Uh, and may the souls of the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace. Amen. All right, guys, that's it for me. You are welcome, Jaleel. Ashton, yes, Jurassic Park was really good. And I will see you guys in the next one. I'll holla. Peace.